It's taken a while, but Djed Spence is on the move from Boro to Spurs. Spence becomes what we think is the most expensive departure from the second tier so far this transfer window, and he's switching the Championship for the Champions League to join Antonio Conte and Tottenham Hotspur. This move would have been pretty much unthinkable not very long ago, but things move very fast in football, and it's been a whirlwind season for the 21-year-old right-sided star. Spence made the bench a few times in the Championship under Tony Pulis at Boro, but his real breakthrough came under Jonathan Woodgate in the 2019-2020 season. He started 22 times under Neil Warnock the following season, but going into this past season, Warnock did not fancy Spence, especially with Isaiah Jones emerging in that area of the pitch in that Boro squad. There were questions about Spence's application too from the wily old Warnock, leading to the following infamous quote where Warnock said Spence could be playing at a top club in England or in non-league in 5 years. I don't know. The unwanted Spence headed out to Forest on loan on September the 1st last season. At that point, Forest were bottom of the league with one solitary point from their first 5 games. Chris Hughton was in the dugout, but he was going to get sacked 2 weeks after Spence arrived. Steve Cooper came in, and the rest, as they say, well, this is what happened. Spence immediately became the first choice right wing back in Steve Cooper's Forest side, and immediately started dovetailing very well with the excellent Brennan Johnson up ahead of him on that right hand side for Forest. He had a momentously good season, starting 37 of 39 games after his arrival on loan, only really stepping out due to being exempt from playing against his parent club Middlesbrough, and with Forest having completed their meteoric rise up into the playoffs, he was rested on the final day. There was an England under-21 call-up and debut. Spence also won the April Championship Goal of the Month for his strike against QPR. But it was some really eye-catching performances on live TV and Forest's excellent FA Cup run that really alerted the wider footballing world to the sort of season that Spence was having. He was excellent as Forest knocked out Arsenal. He scored against Leicester and, along with most of the Forest team, gave Liverpool, the eventual winners, a mighty old scare in the quarter-finals. Before we get to the very happy ending and culmination of last season for Spence and Forest, please do help me out by hitting the like button and supporting the channel if you're enjoying the video. The season ended with Spence starting all 3 of Nottingham Forest's playoff games, culminating with that Wembley win over Huddersfield, and Forest were in the Premier League. The rumours had been rumbling since about January, and it became fairly clear that come what may, by whatever means, Djed Spence is going to be a Premier League player this coming season and wasn't going to be heading back to Middlesbrough. The question then is, where in the Premier League would Djed Spence end up? With a host of big clubs linked, I'm sure Nottingham Forest would have loved to have done a deal, probably the same deal and price that Spurs were able to do. But look, it's hard for a newly promoted club to go up against a Champions League club, and it's equally hard for a player not to back themselves and take the chance to play for one of the big boys when they do come in. From a Boro point of view, this couldn't have worked out too much better. They had a player that the manager didn't fancy. He thrived in a different environment. His value increased exponentially, and now Boro are able to cash in without any need to replace a player who was never really a first choice name. Some will argue that Spence would be an asset to Boro now and they're in some way losing out, but he's only that huge asset because of the work he's done away from the club. And of course, Boro have the excellent Isaiah Jones in that position. For my money, a win-win for Chris Wilder and Middlesbrough. For Forest, I guess it's just an example of the realities of the loan system. They benefited in the best way possible in terms of Spence's contribution to their promotion. And his destination right now intimates that while he was at Forest, his level and his ceiling went higher than theirs is at this moment in time. What Forest do, however, need to do now is sign themselves a wing-back of ideally the same calibre as Djed Spence. Neco Williams of Liverpool appears to be the target. For Spurs, they've picked themselves up an England international, and if the reported fee is close to what they're actually paying, then it's not a lot of money for a Champions League club. Obviously, Spence is not just on the rise, he's very steeply on the rise after one real momentous breakout season last time out. That makes it a gamble, but hey, in life there are good gambles and there are bad gambles, and we'll find out which category this signing falls into and see how Spence steps up. Manager Antonio Conte loves a wing-back and he loves that system, and Spence joins Emerson Royale and Matt Doherty on the right-hand side of their roster, who he'll be trying to displace or at least share those minutes with next season. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. If you are a Boro fan, where would you like to see this money spent? If you're a Forest fan, are you disappointed to miss out? And how do you see your right-hand side looking without Djed Spence, such a key figure last season? And finally, if you're a Spurs fan, how do you think Spence will be used, and can he force his way into that first team? If you enjoy the video and you want to stay with the channel and see a couple of bits of related content, why not click here to see a deep dive comparing Spence and his Boro teammate Isaiah Jones, filmed in the middle of last season. Or you can click here to see my in-person vlog of Forest and Spence's big day at Wembley when they got promoted to the Premier League.